So to start off, we want to define the 6 steps. All right. So there's 6 steps to buying a home. Step one is going to be choosing your agent. Okay. This is going to be one of the most important decisions that you can do as a buyer. Okay. You want to make sure that the person that's fighting for you in the ring, quote unquote, which in the deal, the negotiation, has a few different things. So you want to make sure they have experience. Do they know what they're doing? Have they seen this before? If they haven't seen this before, do they have someone that they can go to that has seen it before as well? So if they're on a team, like let's say it's a brand new agent, they might have done a deal before. That might be their first one, or of your friend or family that has never done a deal before. But do they have a mentor, a teacher, a broker, or something like that that they can go to when something comes up that they've never seen before? That is one of the big things. So experience. The next thing is going to be speed. Speed is everything when it comes to a transaction. Time kills deals. That is a very real thing. You need things to go from point A to point B as soon as we figure them out as fast as possible. That doesn't mean push me into anything as a buyer. That doesn't mean try to sell me anything. That doesn't mean work for the other party just to try and get a deal. That's not what that means. What it means is if I say that I want to get this done, I want to, like, let's say if it's a multiple offer situation, I'm only working with a limited amount of time. So you need to make sure that you have somebody that's willing to move quickly to make sure that you have the best shot at getting the deal versus the others. So speed is the second thing. So you got experience, you got speed. The last one that you really want to make sure that you have is an operations back end. Okay. This is going to be very, 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 very important, especially in nowadays real estate, when agents' job is to get more clients. That doesn't mean their job is to neglect you, but their job is to handle the one thing that would get you the furthest in the transaction, which is either negotiation or putting the deal together via the agent or things like that, the communication aspect. But if you do not have an operations back end and the agent is doing almost everything in the deal, it's very tough to have 10 clients all negotiating different deals, showing houses, doing such, on top of writing contracts, scheduling inspections, making sure the timeline is correct. All of that stuff is very hard to do. So that's where you see things like transaction coordinators, operations directors, and things like that. So essentially, you want a team. You want somebody that has a team behind them. That's the biggest thing. So those are different things that I look for, or I at least tell all my buyers when you're interviewing agents. Those are the things you're looking for. And then on top of that, you're looking for communication, you're looking for trust, and then you're looking for experience. Those are your 3 things: communication, trust, experience. Okay. Trust comes through obviously knowing the person. Are they willing to talk to you as a person, not just as a real estate agent? Are they willing to understand your situation? Do they have a sense of empathy? Things like that. And then communication, that goes back to the team. Do they have a systematized process for every little thing so that you don't miss anything? It's very important. Okay. Now, after you select your agent, it is very important that you go to the next step. So a lot of people go from step 1 to 3, but it's very important you go to step 2. That means get your financials together. Figure out the financials. All right. The financials are going to drive almost every part of this process. Now, if you're in a position where you're going to buy all cash, you already have it saved up, sure, like go ahead and start looking and get it sorted out now, but let your agent know that in the first consultation. Don't wait and then be like, hey, let's go show houses. And then all of a sudden that realtor asking you like, oh, I'm going to pay cash when I find the right house. Okay. But you got to let your realtor know what's going on. But if you have a good one, they should ask you those questions up front so they won't be blindsided or things won't be out of order. So get the finances in order. So what you want to do is find a mortgage broker. Okay. You want to find a mortgage person that can give you some of the best deals, the best rates, and going to give you a good incentive to be able to get the best deal for you in your interest rate and monthly payment. Okay. So you want somebody that has the connections from an appraisal side, the credit repair side. You want to make sure that all of those different things are engulfed inside the lender's relationships. Okay, so you want to find somebody that can get you, yes, can get you the lowest rate, but they can also have they can negotiate with appraisers because they have great connections, or they can talk to credit repair specialists to figure out tricks to get you up faster or things like that. So you want to find somebody that knows what they're doing and has relationships. Okay, now once you apply, your goal is to figure out how much you're going to put down and operate backwards from monthly payment. Okay, so you want to start not with the sales price. This is where everybody goes wrong. Do not start with the sales price. Start with how much you want to pay a month. Got it? Once you learn that target, then you can operate with how much you need to put down, how much you need to, what interest rate you need, and all that kind of stuff. But if you start going operating from a purchase price, the purchase price does not transcribe as much as you think. Purchase price is essentially just for equity purposes, the appraisal, the for resale value, all of that. But in terms of monthly payment, $10,000, we always say gets you 60 to $70 off your monthly payment. So it's not as much as you would think. Okay, but interest rate, which comes off of the monthly payment, interest rate is a heavy factor, and then your down payment. So please do not start from sales price. Start from what you want to pay a month. If that's $2,500, if that's $3,000, if that's $4,000, if that's $2,000, that is where you want to start. And then from there, we can say, okay, what price range are we in? What are you qualify for? And then from that point, we can go, okay, so if that's the case, then we need to put this much down with this interest rate and these taxes and insurance. And that way, you know exactly what to expect when you're going to look at houses, okay? So you want to figure all this out ideally, before you go looking at houses. Now, does it happen? Sure it does. But just for the best experience, especially if you're a first-time buyer, you want this to go as smooth as possible. And you don't want to be rushed when it comes to finances and things like that, because let's say you find the perfect house, and then after you find the perfect house, you figure out that you can't qualify for it. So now every house you look at after that just seems like a super downgrade because it wasn't the house that you looked at. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want to set yourself up for disappointment and then force yourself to be put in a hole later because you don't want to buy anymore because it's not the house that you saw at first, you know? And then that spirals to just losing money. So yeah, I would say get the financials in order first. So we found our agent, we got our finances in order, and then now we go look at houses. Okay, this is where the fun starts. So typically, if you have a good agent, the first consult will take care of step 1 and step 2. You'll sign with a new agent. Congratulations. Then you'll find that agent will hook you up with mortgage broker, or a step up would be have the mortgage officer at the appointment with you, so you guys can talk through all of it at the same time. And then by the time you guys walk out, it's time to go find the house. So this is where you can pull out your Zillow portfolio, your homes.com list, your Trulia website. This is where you can pull all of that out and go, hey, I want to go see this one. Okay. Now, one thing to stop you with before we do this. So now when it's time to look at the house or look for the house, the question would be how do we do this efficiently without looking at 32,000 houses before we make an offer? Okay, so we want to narrow down our criteria. Okay, so we do that in 2 ways. The first way is what we call the buyer's triangle. Okay, now if you could imagine a triangle, price, condition, location. Okay, those are the 3 points of the triangle. Your goal, unless you're Elon Musk, you can usually only get 2 or out of the 3, and because price is fixed. You see what I'm saying? So price, typically, you get a loan qualification amount, and that's like your cap. You can't go above that. Or you might have a monthly payment that you don't want to overspend on, or you might have a sales price that you don't want to go above, whatever. But your price usually gets capped unless you're like rich. Unless you're rich, then that's, you can play with the other 2. But if you are not, like the rest of us, you can have, so your price is going to be fixed. So your goal is to choose which one is more important, location or condition. Okay. Now, location, obviously, in real estate, we say location, location, location. From a value perspective, it is going to be it's it's harder to alter, if that makes sense. If I have a house in Highland Park, it could be a teardown in Highland Park. It still may go for $500,000 just because of the land. You see what I'm saying? But if I have a beautiful, gorgeous mansion in the middle of nowhere in Tyler, Texas, it might not be worth as much as it would be here. So, like, location is the more stagnant one, but condition, it also becomes a thing. Like, you might have a school system, or I guess that would be location. You have a school system that you want to be in for a location, but like, let's say you really want a pool, like that is the whole thing. The family needs a pool, or you need I need a big enough room to fit my family dining room table for Thanksgiving, or I really need an open concept, or things like that. Okay, like, you have to choose. Well, I'd rather that house versus staying here. Perfect example is for me and my family. We like the new build condition homes. Okay, so when we look, it is out on the outskirts of the city. So we're willing to drive a little bit further to make sure that we get the new build open concept home that is ready to go, and we can have builders take care of our warranties and things like that. You see what I'm saying? So it's that is a part of it. Okay. The next portion would be um, I'm sorry, let me back up. So yeah, you have to choose between location and condition if your price is fixed. Now, if you have unlimited price, then feel free. Go find the house that you want, because you can find a house in prime location and build it how you want if you have enough money. You see what I'm saying? So, like, it's the buyer's triangle, and you want two out of three. Two out of three. Okay. Now, that's the first half. The second half on making this an efficient thing is, hold on, sneeze. Okay, thank you. Um, the second half of this, after the buyer's triangle, is your five pluses and minuses. Okay. Now, you want to define this list, and you want to make these absolute deal breakers and must haves. Okay. And you need to stick to this list like your life depends on it. Got it? Your agent's job in this case, like what I tell all my clients, is like, look, I am going to fight you if you send me a house that's outside this list. If you send me something that's outside the list, I'm going to call it out. I'm going to be like, hey, this is what we talked about. I just want you to know that this is not part of your must-haves, or this is one of the deal breakers that you had. If you would like to adjust it, we can, but I just want to let you know, so that we need to replace the other one. You see what I'm saying? So these five plus and minuses, you need to make sure that you are sticking to these. The only reason I say that is, if we do not, I remember my first couple of deals, I skipped this part of the consult, and I looked at 40, 50 houses with a couple. Um, and it's not fun for me. It's not fun for the client, because they're just looking at a bunch of houses. They feel like they're never find what they want. And uh, and it's really not, it's not efficient for anybody. So when you narrow down that list, it cuts out a lot of stuff before you even have to go set foot and get in a car and set foot in a house. Okay. Now, there are there situations where it might be something that has four out of five, and like, we may be able to negotiate to get the fifth one. Like, sure, we could do that. But for the most part, you just want to stick to it. Okay. That's the big thing. So you got the five pluses, five minuses. And like I said, the minuses, so your must-haves, like, these are five things that non-negotiable. I'll give you a couple examples. Mine is a garage. I gotta have a two-car garage. I gotta have an office. Okay, we gotta have a backyard for dog. We gotta have a fourth bonus or bedroom. I don't care what kind of room it is, but it's gotta be an extra room. We gotta have at least two bedrooms. We gotta have um, I think that was four or five. Uh, and then got to have an open concept kitchen, because J Lo wants to be able to watch TV and cook at the same time. That was a big thing. Okay, so, like, those are the things you have to narrow down at the beginning. So if I look at houses and I start sending stuff, then I know as soon as this comes across, this cannot go to J Lo, because she will punch me in the throat, because she can't watch TV while she cooks. You see what I'm saying? So stick to it that way. On the reverse, must-haves. I'm sorry, I think we did must-have. So let's do the deal breakers. I don't want any. Um, I don't want any small bedrooms that can't fit a king size bed, or Um, uh, I don't want a tubless bathroom or something like that. You come up with your own list. That's where it comes up with. So you got to start there. And again, this can happen in that initial consult with your agent, to where you guys walk out of there before you start going to look at houses, and you already have an idea what's going on. Got it? Okay. So now we know how to look for the house efficiently. We know what to find. We got our agent. We got our finances together, and then we have our must-haves. We got the buyer's triangle understood, and we're ready to go look at houses. Now, once you find the house that you want, it's time for step 4: make an offer. Okay. Now, offers range based on state. I can only speak from Texas. I sell in Texas. So offers, there's a bunch of different parts of it. Now, the biggest thing when making an offer is understanding leverage points. Here in Texas, the contract is heavily written in the favor of the buyer. It's just how it is. There's many outs in the contract for the buyer to be able to get away, back out of the contract, and get their money back. That's just how it goes. Okay. So you gotta the biggest thing is you want to understand where the levers are for you as a buyer. Okay. If you need time to get pre-approving, then you might throw a third-party financing in there. You might need time for a contingency, or you might need to sell your previous home and do a contingent offer, or you need to understand like how much you want to put for earnest money, or how much you want to do for an option fee. How long is the option fee? Do you only need 5 days, or do you need 10 days, or how long does it need to be? You need to figure all of that out now, so that way you can understand where your leverage points are, because that's what a good agent is negotiating when it comes to sending in offers. Uh, to certain things, obviously, quick closes favor the seller, unless you're a buyer that just needs to close. But it's all situational based. So obviously, the ideal offer would be all cash, over asking, um, close tomorrow, uh, with no contingencies. Like that would be a perfect offer. And from the other side, the worst offer would be a contingent offer based on a home that's sitting on the market and not selling, and that's $100,000 over asking, and then um, they need a month to figure it out, and they can't close until December. Like like you never know. Like that would be a terrible offer. So you want to find somewhere in the middle that benefits your client, but at the same time is reasonable enough to get a deal done. See what I'm saying? So um, your agent will walk you through more of that in the details. That's where they define it. Okay, so things like option fee. This gives you you pay your option fee to give you the ability to back out of the contract. Um, in a certain amount, the unrestricted right to back out of a contract in a certain amount of days. Okay, so typically I like to do 5 to 7 because usually it doesn't really take that long. But I also have a big team, so like it doesn't really take that long to set up inspections and all that kind of stuff. Like we got to figure that out. We can figure that out really quick. Financing contingencies are typically anywhere from 10 to 15 days if you need it, or just wipe it if you've already been fully pre-approved, like we talked about in step 2. So it all depends. This is where you consult. This is where you figure out and game plan with your real estate agent what is the best for you and your goals, and what is the situation on the other side. Because you need to know if you're in a multiple offer situation. You need to know if the seller's been sitting on the market for 180 days. You need to know if the seller is moving out of town, or you need to know like those details, because that's going to play either into your favor or against your favor. So that's a part of making the offer. Now, once you make the offer, you go under contract. The option period. That's step 5. Option period. Okay, so the option period is the period that you paid for in the contract to have the unrestricted right to back out. Okay, during this period, you could say, "I stubbed my toe this morning. I'm out of the contract." You get your earnest money back. Okay, it doesn't really matter. You don't have to say a reason. Okay. Now, if you go outside of this, then you have to use either other outs in the contract, but that gets a little more nerdy, that we won't talk about here. But during this option period, you have 4 checks that you're going to want to take care of. Okay, so these are the 4 checks that you're going to plan for. Okay, your first one is your earnest money. Your earnest money is typically 1% of the sales price of the home. Now you can put whatever you want for earnest money. This money goes towards your down payment at closing. Okay, so just keep that in mind. This goes on your closing statement. So this doesn't disappear into the abyss when you finish later on. Okay, so this was going to be invested anyways. So if you have a $300,000 house that you're offering on, you usually put $3,000 up front. And again, if you back out based on one of the contingencies in the contract, you get that check back. Okay. If you do back out outside of that, the seller does not have to give you that money back. And you would just be out that money. But that's only happened to me once. So the next fee. So check 1, earnest money. Check number 2 is going to be option. So this is that unrestricted payment. So you could do $50 a day. You could do $100 a day. You can do whatever you want for the option fee. Again, this gets credited at closing to your statement as long as the deal goes through. But if the deal falls through, the option fee goes to the seller. Okay, so you don't get this one back. You don't get this one back. So this is one of the costs. I would say is one of the costs, a part of the actual process. So if we were to make an offer today, this is how I frame it a lot of times to my buyers. It's like, if you're going to make an offer, the only cost that it's going to take is your option money and then the other 2 checks. Okay. Because you won't get those checks back. But your earnest money, you're not really risking, because you can get that back if you back out of the contract correctly, which your agent will guide you through. Okay, so that's huge. Okay, so you're paying for option, you're paying for the unrestricted right to go through, take a look at the home, make sure it's everything that you foresee before closing. And then you get your earnest money. This is like your skin in the game, letting the seller know that you're serious. And then the number 3 is your inspection. Okay, so you do your inspection during the option period, so that way if you find anything wrong, then and you try to negotiate, then you can back out of the contract again and get your earnest money. Okay, now typically inspections around here anywhere from $400 to $600, but just check with your individual inspector. Okay, so you got your earnest money, option money, you got your inspection. Again, this inspector is going to go through the house, tear it apart. They're gonna pick it apart. It's their job to find as many problems as possible, so that way the buyer is aware. The important part about the inspection is that you're looking for the big 5. Okay, you're looking for plumbing, you're looking for roofing, HVAC, foundation, and then you're also looking for electrical. Okay, now here in Texas, we also have termites that you have to inspect, so we want to pay attention to those too. But as far as generalized, it's the big 5. Those things are major parts of the negotiation, because that's where the most money usually runs out. That's where the most contract backouts usually happen. That's where the repairs need to happen. You're not buying. You don't want to buy a house that's in non-working order that you don't know of. Like if you're buying a fixer-upper and that you're going to have to fix it, then that's just part of it. But if you're about to move into this property, then it's very important that you know what you're getting yourself into. And that is where it's perfectly fine to ask for the seller to either repair or give you cash in lieu of the repairs, which I always recommend. Now, why do we recommend the cash in lieu? It's because technically, if you ask the seller to use a licensed plumber or a licensed roofer or something like that to take care of the issue, they can go pick whoever they want to go handle the issue. And you want to maintain the control of maintain the control of the repairs. Okay, you want to divvy it up how you want to. Like, first perfect example right now, like we have a deal going that's $10,000 in seller concessions, so they'll be able to spread it behind a new water heater, a new plastering for the pool, a new pool pump. Like, you can use it however they want to. But if you ask for the seller to repair it, then you take the risk of it being done poorly, and then you have to fix it again later after closing. So I always say try to get the cash in lieu of repairs. You can put that in the seller concessions. And you can use that. You can use seller concessions for anything except for the down payment. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now the last check. So we have the earnest money, we have the option money, we have the inspection. Okay, and then the last check is for appraisal. Okay, so this appraisal is for the bank. Okay, the lender that you're using to buy the house is they need to make sure that they protect their assets. Okay, so they're going to send a verified appraiser out to make sure they value the home based on the sales price. Okay, so it needs to meet however much you're buying it for. That's the goal. Okay, now there's ways in between and out of it where you can do appraisal waivers, yada yada, but like just base level, it needs to meet the value. Okay. If it doesn't, then you can renegotiate the contract up to 3 days before closing. Okay, so that's another out in the contract, just so you know. But yeah, so that's where your fourth check is going to go to. So those 4 checks will get you all the way to closing day before you have to actually bring the cashier's check to close it out and your final cash to close them out. Okay, so we got the 4 checks. We got earnest, option, inspection, appraisal. Okay, those are your 4 checks. Now, as far as the step process, that brings us out of step 4. Once we get all the repairs taken care of, we got all the negotiations, we got some seller credits, we're moving on. There's a dead period between the end of option to closing. Okay, now if you're in a loan process, this period is where the lender is dotting all their T's and dotting all their I's and crossing their T's. Okay, they're going through making sure loan approval, all of that stuff lines up for the final closing day. It's very important as we go through step 5 that you understand to not change your financial situation. And what do I mean by that? I mean, do not go finance a bunch of furniture. Don't go finance a new TV. Don't go schedule movers and put down the big deductible that costs you your down payment, or do anything that's going to affect you. Don't quit your job. Don't switch jobs. Don't do anything in this period until you hit closing. Close on the house, then do whatever you want after that. But do not do that in this period because the lender is already getting stuff together. So you risk starting all that over. And then when they rerun all the credit stuff and to re-verify that you qualify for the loan, it needs to line up. Okay. So during this dead period, like, it's very important. Don't do anything. Do not do anything. That is the biggest thing. It's going to be boring. You might not get as much communication as usual. Like it's all part of it. Okay. And then obviously step 6 is the actual closing day. So this is the exciting thing. You take your picture, you do the whole thing. The biggest thing, don't schedule movers for the day of closing. Don't do that. Don't do that. I've seen nightmare stories. You want to always schedule for like the day after, or maybe 2 days after, just to be safe. And then move that way. But scheduling on the day of closing, you never know what can happen. And then we had to push it back, and then the movers charge you a fee and you have to buy new movers, and like, you just don't want to do all of that. Okay, so just make sure you close on the house and then have movers come after, which I would say either a day or 2 afterwards. So that's just a pro tip. Okay, so we went through all 6 steps. Find your agent, get your finances together, search for the home, do the make an offer, go on through the option period, and then close on the house. Okay, that's your 6 steps. Now, there are things that I kind of like just dabbled over just to make sure that we got this through. Like, usually consults are about an hour, and I just went through that in 30 minutes. So there's things that go in and out based on people's unique situation, but that's like the generalized overview on what you can take to your agent and reference as we're going forward. You know what I'm saying? So that way, hopefully this gives you like an idea of what to expect when buying a home, especially in this market, so that no surprises jump out at you or anything like that. All right, so